What's up, guys? Welcome back to another deck profile. Hacky here with Gallantmon. Absolutely love Gallantmon. One of the mains. It's going to be one of the mainstays of the channel for definite. It's going to be one that just keeps coming back, no matter for what reason or however. Like, just if I make any little changes, I'm like, cool. I want to show this to the world. This deck has been absolutely fun. It was incredible at my locals just gone. Have to give Demonic huge shout outs here. For the basically for like kind of the foundations of the list, right? And I was able to make one or two more changes towards it, and that's kind of what I keep on doing. I want to keep on making those changes as I go along, find out what I vibe with, find out what I like the most. But honestly, this was incredible as itself. We're essentially doing big old Takato warps, so we want to just get Takatos out on the field as much as possible, whether we hit end of turn or we hit the main play. And we just want to start just throwing Gallants out left, right, and centre. And it doesn't matter if we're getting however many checks we're getting in a turn, they're just going to keep on coming. It's absolute relentless gameplay. So let me know what you think. Let me know how you find the list. Let me know if you made any particular of your own changes to your own list, and if you think it'd be really cool to talk about. Obviously, make sure to kind of share this amongst your friends, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and we'll just kind of shift right over to the X. Okay, gonna be starting with the Digimons here, so short and sweet, absolutely love this one. There's no replacement for it, there's nothing better for it, you wouldn't need it anyway. We just have, when attacking, because you're a Gallantmon, Growlmon, both the 4 and the 5, or Gallantmon in name, just draw a card. Helps us sift through the deck, helps us draw more cards to find our pieces, helps, you know, just in every way you'd want it to, right? Memory efficiency is something that's already handled by a lot of the other pieces in the deck, so with card draw, this is just really nice. Can't complain with it. So with that, we'll just shift to the level 3s. Okay, so starting off here, we are going to be talking about the EX2 Gallantmon. So you can go ahead and reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, and you can pick up anything with Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name, and then one Takato Tamer. So of course, it's really good at that early game, being able to just search your deck immediately for any of the pieces you need to start spamming Gallants out. And of course the Takatos for, well, your memory setting needs, or your memory gaining needs, or just hitting those end of turns into Gallant to really start pressuring your opponent. It's very good. On top of this, we also have the Inherited for when attacking to be able to delete your opponent's Digimon with 3k DP or less. So it's really good to get rid of those pesky, annoying little bodies that you don't want your opponent to have or get any kind of advantage off, whilst also being able to combo off with one of the other level 3s and 2 of the other level 4s in the deck to be able to gain some memory back and extend your own plays. So it's a very good searcher. You wouldn't want to go any less than this, because it's also a Gallantmon for the warps that we want to do, and also just for being a good name for the rest of the deck as well. So very good card. With that, we also have the BT21 Gallantmon here. So on play, we can go ahead and ditch a Gallantmon, a Growlmon, or Gallantmon, or a hero trait to just go ahead and draw 2 cards. So we can pretty much pitch anything we want away in the deck. Can't really complain with this card. It's helping you sift through more of your deck without having to necessarily bottom deck anything. Just pick up 2 more cards and see what you're working with. And then on top of this, we also have the Inherited for the on-deletion to just gain a singular memory. So this is really good as well, because obviously if your own stat gets popped one way or another, you can get some memory back. This might, in some situations, steal your turn, depending on how you play things out, or depending on, matchups for certain, right? But this can also be helpful when you're popping your own Gallant stacks to extend your own plays, because obviously you get to kind of control how your own on-deletions will happen here, right? So you know, you want to pop a Gallant stack, it's got this guy and maybe the other Growlmon under the stack for the on-deletion, and then you just gain 2 memory back just like that, and then you see where you go. Or you might be able to leave your opponent on little less memory than what they would have liked. So, for sure, amazing cards for the deck. You want to see these, most of the time, they're really good. It's going to help you kind of carry on the pressure that is Gallantmon. So, definitely a 4 of. Next up, we have the Gallantmon X Antibody, even more search, whilst also being able to Digivolve on top of the Gallantmons here. So it can go ahead and reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can pick up a Growlmon or Gallantmon in name, whilst also being able to pick up the X Antibody options, so the regular one and the Protoform one. So this is very good. We of course do run some of the X Antibody options that we're talking about here, so every once in a while seeing them through this guy is really decent. But also just another way to get an extra card draw without necessarily spending any memory, whilst also being able to kind of search for the deck a bit more. It's very good. And on top of this, it can its Inherited effect has the Your Turn for when one of your opponent's Digimon is deleted, you can gain a memory. So much like what we were talking about with the Gallantmon, the EX2 Gallantmons when attacking here, we can go ahead and kind of, you know, if we pop any of our opponent's small bodies, this GLX, if it's in the stack, we're definitely getting some memory back with this. So it's a very good card. Definitely can't complain with this. The fact that it can also Digivolve on top of the Gigi as its own level 3 as well, you know, it's the X antibodies. They're very useful. What can you say? So. Then, last but not least, we have the Rush Geel. So on play, if you and your opponent both have up to 20 cards in the trash total, then this guy will just gain Rush. So of course this is very nice because, as we would, with one of the level 4s we're talking about a little later on, they're able to on delete play one of these Geels back out. You can play this dude back out. If you've got enough in both yours and your opponent's trash, it'll gain Rush. It's an extra swing out of nowhere. Or sometimes it's not bad to play this late game and then you're like in the past it's been used to help warp with a Takato so that the Gallant stack will have Rush, but the new AD Gallant does just have Rush anyway, so it becomes a bit redundant. But it's not bad. There are scenarios where you have to still work around with that, so it's like, you know, very very niche as it is, it's still very nice to have that there. So, and it's also still just a regular Geel in name, just for the sake of targets. So whilst it has no inherited, the on play is very nice, and just being another body for the deck is very good. So definitely like the level 3 lineup. Don't think I would make any particular changes to this one. Like, I could maybe tinker around with like the level 3s here, but these level 3s are just the two main draw and searcher ones, that they're just very good. So with that, we will go ahead and move on to the level 4s. Okay, I think first it's good to start off with talking about the regular Growls first, just to kind of go through what we're dealing with here. So we kind of got a Growl toolbox going on here, as you'll see, with the first one being the starter deck Growlmon, so no when Digivolving effects, no on play effects, but that's completely fine, because we just have the inherited to, when our opponent's Digimon are deleted, we can just gain a memory. So as you can see, this works with the GLX. It just kind of helps rack up a bit of extra memory to gain to extend the plays. Just a very solid card in general. But with that, we then next up have the BT19 Growl. This is going to go ahead and play out Takatos if we're at 1 or fewer. So very nice way of getting those early Takatos out, whilst also just like climbing up your line. And then on top of this, we also just have the all turns underneath. When we're at 0 or less memory, any of our DP deletion based effects get an extra 2k added onto them. So this includes the Geel inherited. This will include the effects of the Gallant later on that we're talking about, or the Gallant, should we say. But another very good card for the deck. It's just another nice Groundmon option for the deck to use, especially for the warps later on. That 2k inherited, the 2k DP inherited edition can like come up a lot. So more than you would actually think. So very good. Next, we have the BT21 Growlmon. So this one is very good as it can just, on Digivolving on play, it can just go ahead and pop a 4k, which, you know, is alright. Definitely can't complain. And then if we don't pop a 4k, we can just go ahead and mill 2 cards from our deck. So it can be kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes you might mill away the one thing that you might have wanted, but other times you could also just mill away exactly what you needed, ready to set yourself up for some Gallantmon warping later on. So it's very good. And then with that, we also have the on-deletions to just gain a memory. So again, this can work with the BT21 Gallantmon, where we can just create some nice stacks that if we know they're going to get deleted, we've definitely got some memory we can gain back and potentially punish our opponent for doing so. So it's a decent Growl. I kind of like this lineup as it is. I'd probably have to sit here and start considering which ones I like more if I wanted to kind of go down a certain play style. But they're all very good. They all hit like, when you see them, you're kind of like, oh cool, I can use this one. Or oh cool, I can ditch this one and definitely use it for a Gallant Warp later on, because with that you're able to kind of pick and choose your Groundmon. So it kind of makes it a bit more of a toolboxy option, makes it very fun to kind of like handle and deal with. So. But last but not least, we absolutely have the Growlmon X's. I mean, it's a no-brainer with Gallantmon. This card's just very good, as much as sometimes like, when you hit it without a Growlmon, it feels awful. But when Digivolving, before we get to an on-deletion, we could just go ahead and draw one and trash one. Then if we have a Growlmon or X-Antibody under this card, we go ahead and gain an on-deletion to just play a Guilmon in name out from the trash. So this means that if the stack the Guilmon was under this was just gone, you can go ahead and just play that back out. You get to kind of refloat a Guilmon. It's potentially going to search you some stuff. Or if it's the Rush Guilmon, you've got an extra body that might be able to swing. It's too early on, though. It's one of those things. But this also helps you just draw more in itself. The amount you can get for your deck if you just start Digivolving into this guy constantly over and over is kind of insane. It's still a really good card to this day, as much as sometimes when it does miss, it does feel awful when it does, but it's one of those necessary evils, as some people would consider. But we're not done there, because we still have the Inherited for just your turn. When you delete in a Digimon, you just gain a memory. So delete one of your opponent's Digimon. If you have both the BT... I was about to say the BT. If you have both the Gallantmon X, the starter deck Growlmon, and then this Growlmon X antibody, you're going to be gaining back a lot of memory. And you're definitely going to be able to kind of start going into those War Growls and definitely those Gallants as the game goes on. So it's a really nice card. It's got more upsides than it has downsides for running it, as much as like I've definitely messed with this numbers like ratios a lot in the past, but it's very good. Definitely not bad. The only other thing to consider is, once again, because it is Growl X, the Warp Takatos, they can't use this card. They can only use the regular Growlmons, so do be careful when doing that. If you pitch away a Growl X thinking you can use it a little later on, you're going to be sorely mistaken, and you are definitely going to kick yourself for that. Not that I've done that, definitely. Haha. Not anytime soon, I'll tell you that right now. Definitely try to be a bit more wary of that these days, but regardless, it can still sometimes just catch you in the heat of the moment. But with that, we'll go ahead and move to the level 5s. Okay, so starting off with the level 5s, it is the one that just continues to stand the test of time when it comes to Gallant deck profiles, or just Gallant decks in general, and that is the BT12 War Growlmon. This guy's a machine half the time. No on play, but just when digivolving, you can go ahead and delete a 4K or less. That's cool, but if you don't delete a 4K or less, you can go ahead and just digivolve into a Gallantmon for the cost reduced by 1. So, without any other prompting, without any other cards, without any other option effects, you can just go right into your Gallant and start causing some absolute ruckus on your opponent's board. Which is just very good. Definitely no complaints with that, because we also have the Inherited as well to just end of attack. If your opponent has no bodies on board, you just gain 2 memory. So, a lot of the time, you can definitely see yourself passing turn by digivolving into this dude, maybe with a Gallant, or you pass your turn on digivolving into the Gallant. Gallant will get some swings, it'll probably delete some stuff when it does. And then you leave your opponent with nothing, and then you go, cool, anyway, I'm going to gain 2 memory back. It's my turn again. Let's go again. You know what I mean? It's a very nice card. It's also very good when you do eventually get one of these dudes in the trash, because when you start warping back into those Gallants, you start ending turns on very low memory, then you start, again, stealing turns back, or just putting your opponent in a position where they're not going to be able to do a whole lot with your stacks. So yeah, it's a solid card. It always comes up. It's incredible. This Growl, no matter what happens to this deck, it just keeps coming back in. You just can't get rid of it, and why would you want to? It's just one... It may as well be considered one of the best cards for the deck at this point, so... but with that, he's not alone. We also have the new AD1 War Growl, so this guy is amazing just for the sake of what we want to do in the deck, because without any limit to it, on play when digivolving, we can go ahead and play a Takato out with from the hand or trash without paying the cost. So this is just as good as the Growls, where we can just play a Takato out. Doesn't matter where they are. Well, apart from the deck itself, but if they're hand or trash, you just get to play it. It's great. And then on top of that, when you're done doing that, you get to pop a 6K. So once again, if your opponent's got a smaller body on board and you know that as you climb up, you're going to start deleting stuff, not only can you get a Takato out for when you want to start doing some response clapbacks, you also just get some memory back for popping a 6K, as we've established with some of the level 4s and 3s that are in the deck already. So, very good War Growls. These are both kind of doing exactly what I want the deck to do now. They're very solid level 5s. I haven't even considered like wanting to run the War Growl X or anything like that. I'm very happy with them. But on top of that, we also do have to speak about the Inherited for the War Growl as well, because when this Digimon would leave the battle area other than by your effects, you can go ahead and just play a Takato and a Gallantmon out respectively from the stack. So you're able to go ahead and just recur even more. So not only do you have this Growl X on deletion to play back a Gallantmon, you could also just play something out with this dude. It has to be from the stack. But you can go ahead and just play out even more stuff and get ready for even more response plays, or just setting up for your next turn, or just recurring some stuff back and leaving your opponent in a position where they weren't able to just leave you wide open. It's... God, I love these level 5s. they really help. They're incredible help to the deck at this point, so definitely no complaints with them. But with that, we will go ahead and move to the level 6s and 7s now. Okay, I feel it only justified that we do talk about the main boy first, just because, you know, he's going to be the bread and butter for why we're doing even half of what we're doing in this deck, and that is the 81 Gallon. So I'll kind of just shift him to the side over here, and let's talk about him. So he's going to be able to just, when you Digivolve, not only has he got some nice keywords being Rush, Raid, and Piercing, he's also got the when Digivolving effect to be able to delete up to 10k's worth of your opponent's Digimon, and then he may attack. So not only is he most likely clearing a good chunk of your opponent's board if they've gone wide, you're able to just start swinging. And then on top of this, you have his second when Digivolving, which is also when attacking here, to be able to delete your opponent's lowest DP. So once you're done clearing most of their board, this second when Digivolving effect is most likely going to be able to help clear off the last one or two things they have on the board. And if they still have one or two bodies on the board, you've of course got the raid that you can just start swinging this dude into. Maybe not by himself, as in without the Takato, because he's going to just be 12k body unless you've done something else with it. But the last effect we do have to take into account here is the Your Turn effect. Whilst he has a Takato in the stack, you gain immunity to everything, so option effects, Digimon effects, and you also gain a nice 5k, making him a nice 17k B-stick. So it's definitely not the strongest by itself, but it's also going to be able to go over most bodies on your turn, so there's no real complaints with this. Again, he's just got, every time he comes out, he's just going to be able to clear a board, and it doesn't even matter if you've played the stack out that turn. Once you Digivolve into this dude, he's got Rush. He's going to be able to swing, regardless, just because he says so. And of course, this is where you start to kind of see the strat come to light, where once you've got Takatos out, once you start playing down some Gallantmons, if you've got the level 4s and 5s in trash, you're going to be able to just warp into this dude, start spamming them out, and just keep putting some, like, you create a level 6 just any time you want to just start really pressuring your opponent. So it's an incredible card for the deck. This has probably been, like, maybe my favorite Gallant so far. I love the strategy that comes with it. I love the way the deck has been made, shall I say. Absolute incredible monster. Can't wait to see the support this kind of Gallant hopefully gets in the future. Will be very fun. But with this, I think another one to start talking about is going to be just the regular Gallants first. So we've got the promo Gallant. So very simply, if your opponent has a 13k body on the board, or rather, it's just when you and your opponent has a 13k body or more on the board, you can go ahead and play this guy for the cost reduced for every 5 cards in your trash. So he's going to be able to come out. It's mostly for the late game, but he's able to drop down for like almost nothing, basically, like 2 memory to 0 memory. It's incredible, it's insane. He's going to be able to attempt to try and delete a 13k body or more, and if he doesn't delete it, he's able to recovery 1. So yeah, it's just a nice Gallant. As you can also see, our own Gallants can make it to above 13k, so every once in a while, it's actually not too bad to be able to pop our own Gallants if our opponent doesn't have a big enough body on the board to be able to get another extra swing out and just put even more pressure on our opponent. This, of course, works really well with some of the stack stuff that we talked about a little earlier on, like the on-deletions from the BT21 Growl and Gallantmons for the gaining a memory, and also the Growl X to be able to play a Gallantmon out. So this is where you can kind of see, like, you know, the cogs start to turn a little bit. You have a Gallant out, you swung with it. It's big enough, though, to where you could slam this dude out. On deletion, you can do stuff like play the Rush Gear out. That's another 2 swings that have just kind of come out of nowhere, do you know what I mean? So it definitely sometimes can seem like it's definitely pipe dream scenarios, or, you know, something that you might not see often, but it's the fact that the deck is able to perform that kind of play and sometimes catch your opponent off guard, you know? But I do like this Gallant at 1. I do really like the BT13 Gallant to talk about it because, like, you know, they're kind of compared to each other a bit, but I think as time's gone on, this one's starting to become a bit of, like, the better choice, just because it still has the Rush. It's got Blocker if you end up, like, it stays alive and it passes over to your opponent's turn. Not that that matters too much these days. The Gallant isn't too big by itself beyond that. Whereas the BT13 Gallant, like, you definitely play against boards where you know their stuff can be easily popped. You play it out, it's popping something. You swing with it again, it's popping something. It's, you know, it's not too bad. But I still like this card a lot. I think it's really good. Next up, to talk about them, we have the free of Gallantmon X Antibody. It's a no-brainer that we run this card as well. We've got the regular Gallants here. We may as well run the X Antibodies because when we're able to Digivolve on top of the regular Gallantmons, we can go ahead and minus 4k from something and then give ourselves 4k until the end of our opponent's turn, making our stacks way bigger than what our opponents can possibly deal with sometimes. But that's not where it ends, because when Digivolving, end of attack as well, we're going to be able to try and pop a 10k, and if we don't pop a 10k, we can trash our opponent's top security card whilst also restanding this stack. So you swing with your Gallant, you've taken some security, you know there's something on their board they can't pop, or you've just left their board completely decimated. You go into this dude, you're trashing another, you're restanding, you're able to swing over another check. It's really good. It's really good. There are times where you might find yourself having to Digivolve into this dude alone without the regular Gallants, and sometimes that's okay, sometimes it's not. It can be kind of, you know, that's the nature of X antibodies when you run them right. But when you do go into this dude, when you have the regular Gallant, it just feels incredible, and everything just starts to work. It's synergy, like incredible synergy. But that's not where it's finished, because we also have the all turns for just when we're at 0 or less memory. We are immune to our opponent's Digimon's effects until, like, well, when they pass it over. So the moment it goes to 1 or more on our side, that's when they can start affecting us with stuff. Of course, that means they can also just affect us with options outright without passing turn. So you know what dual options can be like, but that's okay. It's not the worst thing. This Gallant's still really good for just having some of that protection, because it means that they have to have the answer, right? They have to have the absolute out to getting around it. And even if they do, you're most likely creating another one next turn. No ifs, ands, or buts. So it's a very good card. I couldn't complain with it. Last but not least, well, in terms of level 6s anyway, we have one of the little changes I really wanted to make, which was just a Chaos Gallant. The name stay, my absolute boy, the one I love the most. This is the one from EX4. It's, it's one of those cards where I can't sit there and go, oh, it's really good, but it just does have some synergies with this deck, which is really interesting to consider. So, first off, let's talk about the trash effect. End of turn, if we have a Gallantmon out on the field and it's got some Digivolution cards in it, we can go ahead and pop it to play this dude out from the trash without paying the cost. That's, decent. We get another level 6 body on the board. Again, the main thing here is that we're able to pop our own Gallant stacks with all those undeletions under them to potentially gain some memory back and to potentially play out another Gallantmon, and then we can maybe work from there. We could probably warp into another Gallantmon, or maybe steal turn back, or, it's one of those things. I definitely did do this at my locals. It was very fun to do. I was able to leave my opponent on 1 or 2 memory, play this dude out, by popping one of my Gallants already on the board. They had the undeletions of just gain the memory back. I was able to steal turn. And then I was able to go into our next card that we'll be able to talk in a moment to basically close out the game. But before I do talk about the next card, we should finish off with here. The Chaos Gallant does have an on-play to be able to pop a 7k or less, but for every 10 cards in both mine and my opponent's trash, it will add 2k to that DP deletion effect maximum. So by itself, it's like late game, this is pretty good. If you're throwing out early game, it's like, you probably use it to pop a Gallant stack or something. If it goes back to the trash, that's fine. You just get to reuse it again later. It's no harm or foul. It's still a card that can be ditched away with the BT21 Gallantmon, so you can still draw some cards from it. The moment you see it, try and pitch it away as soon as possible, because you're just going to want to use it later to pop stuff if you see fit. The card definitely comes in clutch. I'd rather have it than not have it, quite honestly. I couldn't complain with it being here. It's also my boy. It's great. Love it. But regardless, I was able to definitely play this dude out where I could finish a game by going into our last but not least level 7 Omnimon X Antibody. It just makes absolute sense. You're able to Digivolve into this dude. If it's got Protoform under the stack you've Digivolved into, it's going to be able to delete all of the other Digimon on the board apart from one that you've chosen and this Omni. And then it's going to bottom deck that last annoying Digimon on your opponent's board. And then if you're still unable to get rid of it that way, you've got this nice little end of turn where you can give one of your Digimon, most likely the Omni, Rush, and it can attack without suspending. It's also got Rush, it's got Raid, Piercing, and Blocker. It's just a game closer. It's just a very good one. It can Digivolve over any of the Gallants here. It's just a nice way to get another swing out without having to worry about actually swinging the Omni or passing turn. So this is why I'd like it with a Chaos Gallant, because if you need another way to kind of close the game out, you've always got this Chaos Gallant in trash. You can then always Digivolve into this Omni, and it just works. It's like clockwork. It's great. So I love this level 6 and level 7 lineup. I really could not complain with it. don't think I'd make any changes to it other than wanting to make something more Chaos Gallant centric. But hey, that's something in the future. Maybe when he gets some actually like really good support. I'm praying, Bandai. I'm absolutely praying. So help me. But yeah, with that, we will shift over to the options first before we start talking about the Tamers. Okay, I think it's best to definitely talk about these first because they're a bit more... I don't know. They help extend the X antibody plays for the deck, so we'll talk about the protoforms. There's, no wonder as to why they're here. Zero cost option card that allows us to digivolve into an X antibody Digimon for the cost reduced by 1. Whilst also, when it goes under the stack, it then also has an alternate for when it sees this stack leave the area other than by your effects. You can go ahead and recur one of the Digivolution cards to your hand, whilst also putting this card on the top of your security. So effectively, you're able to recur a card back, recovery +1, and then it's a security effect is just you can get this card back to your hand. So unless they trash it away with some of the effects that is going around nowadays, being able to recur this card and something else back, and then you can kind of just, maybe one of the X antibodies, so you can kind of just reuse them again. It's very good. Definitely no complaints there. There have been times where I've considered, like, oh man, maybe having the when attacking X antibody would be really good because maybe going into a War Growl and swing with it, and then or a Gallant, and then ending up in a Gallant X mid-swing. So then you're also a bigger body, but then you also you can restand then and trash the top and stuff like that. But really, this isn't so bad. This is fine, especially with the cost reduction. It makes everything a bit more efficient and consistent for the deck, rather than like having to, make bigger memory plays per se. So, because the whole point, the whole name of the game is still trying to leave your opponent on as little memory as possible through Gallant, because with the least amount of memory, they won't have as many answers to your Gallant stacks, and then you can really start spamming them out. So, but this is a very good option, definitely. I'm happy with it as it is. It's fine. Next up, we'll talk about this card by itself, but we do have cards that kind of follow its pattern. We have the Sprint Dash training, so with it being the only red dual option we have right now, it's very good, because if we don't have any other Sprint Dash trainings on the field, we can ignore this card's color requirement. So it doesn't matter if we don't have any green in the deck, we can just still play this card regardless when we see it. It's just acting as a really good training, because its main effect is you're able to reveal the top 2, pick up a red or green card, but we're only ever going to really pick up the red cards. And then, of course, we can pop its other main effect later on to Digivolve one of our Digimon for the cost reduced by 2. But the really enticing thing about this option in particular is because its security effect is way better than the regular trainings, because it's just the main effect again. You can go ahead and just reveal the top 2 and grab a red card, and then also this goes right to your battle area. It's really good. When we get the other dual options, they will start to replace the regular single color options, because the fact that you can play them out without having to need the color requirements as well, you just don't need to see another variant of it on the board, it's really good. These options are a lot better than what you'd think they would be. But with that, we only have the one Sprint Dash, but then following this, we have the 2 offense trainings. This is basically doing exactly everything the Sprint Dash is going to do for the deck, other than get a screen cards, and it's not going to have the same as good security effect. It's just going to come to the battle area. It's not going to do any searching. But other than that, they're just nice 2 cost options to be able to leave our opponent on little memory as possible, while still digging through our deck and setting up for our plays later on. So it's a very good card. These will start getting replaced by other dual option cards where they're red and something else, like the red yellow, the red blue, or even the red purple. So, and then with that, we have the scrambles again. 2 cost. You can digiroll one of your Digimon into another Digimon for the cost reduced by 3. Then on top of this, you have the start of your turn. If you have no Digimon on the board whilst this is in the battle area, you can go ahead and trash this card to put a red Digimon card of your choice onto the top of your deck, and then play out a level 3 basically from the trash without paying the cost. So you can start your turn with a level 3 on board. As you know, in this deck that is crucial, because having a Gallantmon that you can start out, and then if you've got Takatos, you can just instantly go into a Gallant. Or just being able to help recur some pieces back that you need to be able to actually do some combos or potentially close out the game, or even sometimes stopping yourself from getting decked out. Very good. Very strong. Nice lineup of options. I love seeing these cards when I see them. 2 scrambles is definitely huge sometimes when you see like both of these cards early game. All of a sudden, like, just the tribal just really does work. You know what I mean? Like, just being able to effectively reduce those costs and then also gain loads of memory back because of your own inherits and on-deletion effects later on. It's very good. It's really good. So with this, we will move over to the Tamers, last but not least. Okay, so to talk about this guy first, because we're running him at 1, we have the 4-cost memory setter Takato Tamer. So, of course, start of your turn, if you're at 2 or less memory, set it to 3, and then you've got the main effect to be able to, by placing this Tamer under your Gallantmon, and then also placing a Growlmon and War Growlmon from your trash under that Tamer, and under the Gallantmon effectively, you can then digivolve into a Gallant from your hand without paying the cost. It must be the Gallant, they must be the Growls, they must be the Gale, they can't be the X-Antibody variants or any other random names. This one does it with paying the cost, so you must pay the cost, but you do get an extra 2k by doing it. You don't always want to do it with this dude. You do like keeping your memory setter around. Again, being able to start from free memory before you do your stuff is really good. Can't complain with that. When he comes up, when you see him, he's great. And if he's trashed away early on, or he just ends up in your trash, he's deleted or milled away, you're able to still play your War Growls that can still play this dude out from the trash, and then, hey, you've got your memory setter back, so it's really good. So, I like this card a lot. It's very good. It's probably the better memory setter now, because you don't need the Takatos that are making attacks happen at end of turn anymore. The Gallant's going to be doing it himself, so. Then, we also have the Warp Takato that are the 3-cost ones. So, start your main phase. If you've got anything with Gallantmon, Growlmon, or Gallantmon in your name on the field, you just gain a memory. So these are really good. You start like racking up these Takatos, and let me tell you, starting a memory at 3 and then just gaining all this memory afterwards is just incredible. But then on top of that, we also have end of turn, same as the main effect here, where by placing this Takato under one of your Gallantmon and then placing the Growl and War Growl under, you can digivolve into a Gallant from the hand. Again, all of the name requirements, they must be the name. They can't be caveats, they can't be replacements, they can't be the the X-Antibodies, Chaos Gallant, all that good stuff. They must be the ones, the originals. But this guy does it without paying the cost. You don't get the 2k, but just being able to end your turn on a Gallant, when the Gallant is also able to delete a bunch of stuff, potentially gain memory back, and then swing. Or, if you do what I can do now sometimes, where you warp into this Gallant, you've got the BT21 Gale and Growl under, you've done your swing, you've done your check, and you can go end of turn. I'll play Chaos Gallant out, I'll pop my Gallant stack, I'll recur some of my pieces, I'll recur some memory back, steal turn back. If I've got another Takato on the board and I have another Gale in hand, or I've played the Gale out through like a War Growl deletion or something, then it's like, we'll just do it again. Or we'll just do it. We'll just go into another Gallant. And then that's 2 level 6 bodies on my board that my opponent has to deal with. Not as hard nowadays sometimes, I will admit, but it's the fact that like sometimes it can come up and it can happen, and it's just another factor your opponent would be surprised by and has to deal with. So, but I like these Tamers a lot. I don't think you have to run any other version of them anymore. I loved the Blitz Takatos. I loved the BT19 memory setter Takato. I think they were fun and they were cool. But these ones, especially for this particular strategy, they're now the best. There might be some worlds where you might play the memory setter Takato at 2 and maybe you play the end of turn one at like 3 instead, but honestly this number has been pretty fine. I like it. The end of turn Takatos are probably my favourite out of these two though, as much as the memory setting is very nice. Because again, ending your turn on Gallants, leaving your opponent as little memory as possible, and talking about cards like your Gale and the Growls that can gain memory back, or the War Growl that can end of attack gain 2 memory back as well. You can really start doing some disgusting stuff, let me tell you. This deck can still hold up sometimes. It's been an absolute incredible blast. But that's going to wrap it up for the Gallant deck profile. I've said all I need to say on getting it out there and throwing it about, but hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back again soon for more deck profiles and gameplay. So, see you guys later.